Greetings Wanderer, this is Atlas here and welcome to the Void. Today I'm going to be checking out a VaatiVidya video called The First Sin Explained. I recently finished my first playthrough of Dark Souls 2, Scholar of the First Sin, and I am craving for all the content related to the game basically. So I'm really looking forward to it. Onward. And boom.
As flame rises, so does it fade. Such is the way of things.
Light and dark, neither can fade while the other survives.
This
is the law of the Dark Souls universe, and all the characters within are bound by its principles. But it wasn't always this way. Once, long ago, the world was grey, without heat, cold, life, death, light or dark. But then the first flame appeared.
After the advent of fire, the ancient lords found the three souls.
That
your progenitor found a fourth,
Yeah.
unique soul, the Dark Soul.
Yes.
Your ancestor claimed the Dark Soul and waited for fire to subside, and soon the flames did fade, and only dark remained. Thus began the Age of Men, the Age of Dark.
This was the natural progression that was supposed to take place in the world. It was supposed to be the Age of Ancients, and then the Age of Fire, then the Dark Age of Man.
However, Lord Gwyn trembled at the dark, clinging to his Age of Fire, and in dire fear of humans, and the Dark Lord who would one day be born amongst them. Lord Gwyn resisted the course of nature by sacrificing himself to link the fire and commanding his children to shepherd the humans. Gwyn has blurred your past to prevent the birth of the Dark Lord.
What dropping the facts
could be called the first sin, for he resisted the course of nature. He forced the darkness back, and from this moment forth the light and the dark have been in a constant ebb and
I didn't lead the fire
like the rising and the falling
in Dark Souls Remastered.
In the ending of Dark Souls 1, we are a part of this flow. The world is in the grip of darkness, filled with broken, tired characters. We tear through the remains of their fragile world and are guided to the kiln of the first flame. Here we have a choice. We can do the same thing Gwyn did and bolster the power of the flame with our own soul, or we can turn our back on the dying light and let darkness grip the world.
Yes.
Before Dark Souls 2, we thought
embrace the dark
were polar opposites, but we were wrong. The choice itself is irrelevant, and whether you linked the flame or whether you turned your back on it, your choice would have led to the events of Dark Souls 2.
You don't see primordial serpents in Dark Souls 2, by the way.
Where our character exists. Drangleic was once a proud kingdom of light, but it has fallen into darkness and decay like the countless kingdoms before it.
No flame, however brilliant, does not one day splutter and fade. But then, from the ashes, the flame reignites, and a new kingdom is born, sporting a new face. It is
DLC areas.
Curse. And it is your cursed flesh that will inherit the flame.
In the ending of Dark Souls 2, we once again arrive at the kiln to either link the fire or let the world fade into darkness.
Once the fire is linked, souls will flourish anew, and all of this will play out again. It is your choice to embrace or renounce this.
Yeah.
The Emerald Herald pushes us to link the fire, for she wishes to be free of the curse.
I didn't.
It reminds me of Anastasia from Dark Souls 1, a firekeeper who also wished for us to link the fire.
Framt has told me of you.
Well, yeah, they're firekeepers after all.
Link the fire. I thank you sincerely. Finally, the curse of the undead will be lifted, and I can die human.
She got killed the first time I played Dark Souls.
Of the undead. And if
but I avenged her death.
The curse, then it does follow that the initial linking of the fire, the thing that started all of this, is related to the curse. Aldia says as much, after all.
Once the Lord of Light banished dark and all that stand from humanity. And men assumed a fleeting form. These are the roots of our world.
What Aldia is saying is that when Gwyn linked the fire and banished dark, man became much less. He says that man assumed a fleeting form. Fleeting means temporary, so I take this to mean that Gwyn reduced mankind's existence in some way. But what exactly?
Right.
Did he make them mortal? Did he place the undead curse upon them, causing them to return to their hollow state? And as far as I know, there's nothing in the game that explicitly explains what Gwyn's linking of the flame did to man. My current theory is that Gwyn actually linked the fire to humanity, which would explain a lot. By doing this, he could feed the flame with humanity's souls, plus it would explain why we respawn at the bonfire, why we kindle the bonfire, and why we're drawn to it even though our nature is inherently dark.
It's using the humanity to fuel the fire.
In the past, humans were one with the dark.
And we are one with it no longer.
Men are props in state of life. And
Right. Because Gwyn corrupted the bond. The pure bond.
Men became something to be used. You can hear the fury in his voice when he says this, because Aldia realizes that men were supposed to inherit the world, but they can't, because the world seems stuck in a cycle of light and dark. Men had everything taken from them, but this defines them. They are fateless, but they still want for more, and so they loved, they lost, and they achieved, all within the bounds of their desire.
Peace grants men the illusion of life.
While the flame is at its height and the world is peaceful, mankind seems able to die. We know this because the curse of undeath is always listed as something that appears rather than something that has always existed. Usually this happens sometime after the fire has been linked, perhaps as soon as it begins to fade. For example, Gwyn was undone long after he linked the fire, and similarly, Vendrick started to fear the curse after his reign had begun. He began to fear men who would not die, men who were cursed to return to their hollow state.
Shackle by falsehoods they yearn for love, unaware of its grand illusion. Until the curse...
Is that a filter on the game? Looks really good. Different. Good.
As true as the dark that charms within men.
This is the fate that the Emerald Herald, Vendrick, and Anastasia want to avoid by linking the fire. They want to be free from the curse of the undead so that they can become human and die. Better to die than to become a soulless husk like you see in the trailer. So in the original ending of Dark Souls 2, you could choose to link the fire, or you could choose to let it fade. Both are irrelevant, because the world of Dark Souls 2 is defined by the countless civilizations that have risen and fallen. This one ending, where you ascend the throne, and the Emerald Herald tells you you can link the fire, or walk away from it, is the same as the two endings of Dark Souls 1. Because whether you link the fire, or extend the Age of Dark, you become part of the cycle. So Dark Souls 2 gives you no in-game choice to be made, because in this game, you are supposed to have learned that there is no significant choice to be made. If you link the fire, the cycle renews, and if you choose not to, eventually an undead will rise who can unseat you and link the fire. That's who your character in Dark Souls 2 is, after all. Vendrick was the Lord of Light before you, but after spending countless years researching the curse, he realized that it was all futile. His soul's description says that he is the one who should have linked the fire, but he became overwhelmed by despair and seems to have accepted the darkness instead.
One day fire will fade,
and
dark will become a curse. Men will be free from death, left to wander eternally. Dark will again be ours, and in our true shape, we can bury the false legends of yore.
Vendrick is inclined to believe that there are two choices, to link the fire or let it fade, He believes that by accepting the darkness, the world will eventually pass into an age of man built around their dark souls.
To revert to its natural state.
Our only choice.
And while it is true that we have never seen exactly what happens once the flame fades entirely, Aldia is a character who believes that it never will.
Young Aldo, there are but two paths.
Yeah, because otherwise there wouldn't be the cycle. And the light balances the dark, and the dark balances the light.
To link the fire or to let it fade. These aren't two choices, they're one. This is what Aldia calls inheriting the order of the world. It's the order Gwyn began long ago when he linked the flame, forcing the darkness and the light into a constant ebb and flow, a cycle that would repeat itself throughout the centuries. But Aldia tells us of a second choice, not to inherit the order of the world, but to destroy the cycle entirely. And this is exactly the ending Dark Souls 2 needed, for we are the one undead in history who is able to ignore the hollowing effects of the curse. And in my previous video on this topic, I told you about the effects of gathering the 3 crowns from the DLC.
Happened in the game.
When you have the 3 crowns, it doesn't cure the undead curse, it stops you from hollowing.
Yeah.
And once you have united the crowns of lords long past, you have the ability to ignore your fate. You can now exist outside of the cycle, for while every other undead is immortal, you are the only one who will never be broken by the curse, and you are the one who will
The only one. Absolutely alone.
Have come and gone. One drowned in poison, another succumbed to flame. Still another slumbers in the realm of ice. Not one of them stood here. As you do now. You, conqueror of adversities. Give us your answer.
I was talking about the DLC Kings before.
Throughout the entire game, we've been told that we do what we do without really knowing why.
Aldia's theme.
But that is exactly what it means to be man. It's exactly what is required of you in the end. For there is no path, and we are the one undead who can forge forward, forging a new path and bringing us into a new age. Not an age of ancients which passed naturally, not an age of fire which Gwyn failed to implement, nor an age of dark which Nishandra perished by. We are the true monarch, who cannot perish, who cannot hollow, and we seek to break free of the cycle, to march forward bravely into an uncertain future.
Yes. This is the ending that I did in my first playthrough. I renounced the throne of want. So good.
There is no path. Beyond the scope of light, beyond the reach of dark. What could possibly await us?
The thing is that if he breaks the cycle, he's not part of the cycle, but he's the only one in the entire world that is not part of it.
Such as our fate.
It's crazy. I mean, it's not like that happened, but to think that could have happened, it's crazy. All right, there it is. Mate, this video was so eye-opening in so many ways, because it's talking about, okay, the Age of Ancients was first, and then the Age of the Fire, and then naturally would come the Age of Dark, but the first sin was when linking the fire to humanity to extend it with the suffering of humanity, basically, by making them undead. And so people die and die over and over again, and that keeps fueling that keeps fueling the flame, but it doesn't. It can't fuel it forever, and eventually someone comes and enacts an Age of Dark, and then it goes along with the cycle. So but the thing is that in an essence, like Aldia is insinuating, like it's impossible to break the cycle. It has become corrupted like forever. Like how could you go back to normal, like having a natural progression? Because if Gwyn didn't link the flame or link the fire to humanity, then maybe we could have had another age, in the Dark Souls world. Maybe first we had the Age of Ancients, then the Age of Fire, then the Age of Dark, and maybe then we could have had another age completely different in the game, that is absolutely unknown to us, because the cycle is what everybody knows. Like I don't know who else could have known about any other sort of age outside of the Age of Fire and the Age of Dark. Maybe the primordial serpents, maybe, who knows. But essentially Gwyn screw everything up, you know what I mean? Out of fear. So humanity became corrupted and linked, intertwined forever with the fire. And I don't know if in Dark Souls 3 that bond is broken or whatsoever, because I haven't played the game yet. But it would be interesting to explore. Well, I suppose there's not going to be like another Dark Souls game to explore that, right? Like another age outside of the Age of Fire and Age of Dark. Or maybe there is, I don't know, but because like I said before, I haven't played the game. But I think that the lore is so good. Like understanding that Aldia had the understanding that Gwyn was the sinner, the first sin, the one that screwed everything up for everybody. Especially humanity, of course, the humans. So Vendrick, in his own way, is a martyr in all this, because he was tricked by Nashandra, and he found out that it didn't matter whatever he did. It was all futile, everything that he did. Even Aldia, Aldia experiments deformed him into what you see in the game. It was a futile attempt to achieve his goal, and the same thing was with Vendrick. It didn't matter if he extended the fire, or he tried to find a way to cure the curse. It's telling you like the curse is incurable, and the only way to cure it, quote unquote, is by enacting another Age of Fire. And when the Age of Fire is like at its climax, in its most apotheosic state, it's the only state in which humans can die. But of course it has this kind of countermeasure, let's say, that when the flame starts to dim, then the curse starts to enact on humanity. It's like a countermeasure within the sin itself, you know what I mean? So it's very, it's an unforgivable thing what Gwyn did. He basically made humanity as slaves to the fire, out of fear of the natural progression of the whole thing. So yeah, it's crazy, but I absolutely love the story of it. The lore, it's absolutely incredible. I think It has been many years since I played a game that has such an amazing lore, you know what I mean? So I'm really enjoying my Dark Souls journey so far. And you know what? I actually like in some ways the Dark Souls 2 lore way more than Dark Souls Remastered, which is probably a very unpopular opinion. But somehow Dark Souls 2 is more of a relatable story for me in specific, okay? Thank you very much for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, please give it a like and share it with your friend. Also, please don't forget to visit my Patreon, my Ko-fi profile, and my Ko-fi store in case you want to support my work further, and my Teespring merch shop. And of course, ex nihilo nihil fit.